everybody. Welcome to another edition of the NBA Slate Starter podcast. I'm Eric, joined with my buddy Emac as we break down Thursday's three-game NBA DFS slate on DraftKings, FanDuel, and Yahoo, which we are aptly dressed purple for. I don't know how this happened. I know you're a Washington Huskies fan, so at least it's understandable from your perspective. Me, I just put on a polo because I'm just, the ultimate golfer weird kid who just has always worn polos my whole life. But anyway, I'm just deflecting because I hate Josh Hart. Emac, how are you doing tonight?
I'm doing all right. Aside from the fantasy teams not treating me well, that's okay. It's going to happen from time to time. The shirt actually is it's a dry fit race shirt from one of the half marathons I've done. It's a rare purple shirt that I have that's not related to the Washington Huskies. So good call out there by you. It was the one of two that would have missed there. But that's all right. Yeah, this was an interesting slate. I do not do nearly as well on these gigantic slates. I think I would be better served to just dial back my play on them. But I sort of have the steps and everything I like to do, and I like it to be the same every time. So I don't.
Or you could be like me and dial up your play because you're not going to get to play DFS for like 2 weeks and get slaughtered because your highest owned player gets ejected in the second quarter. I'm going to say not an ideal day for me, but you know what? I'm very excited to get away for a little bit. Go get married, go on a honeymoon. Again, thank you so much to everybody here at Awesemo. We've got a lot of guys, yourself included, filling in for me everywhere around the board. You guys are the absolute best. We've got such a great staff. So many sharp analysts. I'm lucky to be, I'm one of the analysts. I don't know if I'm sharp, but I like to think I have my moments, but for sure, looking forward to watching some Slate Starter. I'm going to make sure that I get that like button, just like all of you are doing right now, of course. I'm going to hit that like button when I'm on vacation, kind of see who the chalk is going to be. Because if you had told me Ricky Rubio was chalked like a week ago without having any context and knowing that he'd be 50% owned and Will Barton would be 50% owned, I'd think everybody on their teams died. Sounds about right?
Yeah, well, our read last night was we didn't think anybody would get quite up to that point, and it just seems the DFS echo chamber was in rare form. The one thing we'll want to remember is there's another big slate on Friday, and there is another one on Monday as well as next Wednesday. Now, none of them quite get to 13, but they're all 10, 11. I think one of them's 9. And then even the next two, this Saturday and the next Saturday, are larger than normal for Saturdays. So this is what we've seen over the last couple of years. So remember when they were in the bubble, everything was kind of staggered out because they only had so many courts and they had to do certain things there. And then last year was just a little bit different with it was still relatively even because they were trying to make it so if teams were going to go out or what have you, they were able to at least have balanced schedules or to make up for them. This feels like it did 4 years ago. So 2 years before the pandemic when they did, they remember once upon a time, they used to only do 2 games on Thursdays and 3 on Tuesdays. Now we get 3, but for a while they had 5 games there. So I don't know what's going on with that strategy. Probably when football winds down, they'll go back to 4 or 5. But in any event, 3 games, it's a nice respite, but I'd rather have 7, 8, and 7 than 11, 3, 10, right? So.
It's what it is. In NBA, again, I do think that there is an advantage to having some of these larger slates, knowing you're going to have very concentrated ownership on certain guys anyway, but sometimes somebody shoots the ball really well. Right now, I've got in the corner of my screen the Pacers and Nuggets game, just like the ESPN profile of what's going on there, and then the Yahoo deal back and forth as I'm watching some of my lineups. And I'm telling you right now, it is just the absolute Malcolm Brogdon and Will Barton show in the fourth quarter. I have a lot of both of those dudes, so hopefully they can elevate me to some min cashes. How about that? Because that's about all I can hope for with as much Josh Hart as I had, but we're going to get into this. You guys are looking forward to it. We're only 5 minutes into the show, or a little less, I suppose. We start the recording early, but we got 3 games to talk. I'm probably not even going to be playing this slate, but you know what? I know your old pal Emac is, as I'm going to go get, pay attention to my family and stuff. It seems important, so I'll probably do that and, get married. But Emac, you ready to get going, my dude?
Let's ride.
That's my guy. There we go. Donovan Mitchell, 9K up there against Indiana. Let's just talk about this slate as a whole. You've got a 7 p.m., a 9 p.m., and a 10:30 p.m. Eastern time start time. So it's that same flooding, like running start that we had on what was it? Yeah, on Tuesday. So Tuesday will have been, when you're listening to this, 2 slates beforehand. Yeah. So we're recording this Wednesday night for Thursday. I'm looking at this as a really good opportunity for some opportunities where late swap. I mean, you had Kevin Herter, who was the absolute nuts, and I don't know if there was anything like that, but Malcolm Brogdon, I'd be surprised if he played a back-to-back right out of the gate after getting activated. So maybe you get that news earlier. Maybe he's questionable. Who really knows? But you've got that, and then you've got some really healthy basketball teams in the evening window. I mean, obviously, Karis LeVert could be back here. He sat out tonight. And so that might be an easy swap where they go Karis LeVert in, and then you have Malcolm Brogdon sit out here on the second half. But of course, Philadelphia's in the early window with Toronto, and now it sounds like Pascal Siakam is not going to be active. So that's really just kind of throwing all of the slate together there on the front end before we get into pricing. Now we get into pricing. Donovan Mitchell, 9K. Malcolm Brogdon, 8,500. That's pretty pricey on a back-to-back here. I'm not sure what those minutes would look like if he did play. But again, I'm not expecting him to. Fred VanVleet, 8,400 here. Still probably doable. It's a 3-game slate, so I think it becomes a little bit more viable at that number. And then Kyle Lowry, 7,100. That number started trailing down on DK. He's been 77 and 7,900 his last 2. He went 0 for 8 from the field, 0 for 6 from 3, and was an absolute dud against Denver. But against the Clippers, game should be moving. I kind of like him in this spot. How about you, Emac?
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one. I agree with you on what we're going to see for the Pacers probably sitting there. To echo last night, I know I wasn't overly excited for Fred VanVleet, but on with just 6 teams in our player pool, I think he becomes much more intriguing here going against Philadelphia. I have a sneaking suspicion we'll probably see one of Tobias Harris or Tybal or Isaiah Joe back. It's been almost long enough that for the random what do we call it, symptoms and things to subside. I think all 3 of them actually did have COVID. Of course, everybody will have it to varying degrees depending on how bodies react. And even if you are vaccinated, it's not going to be a gimme. We see that Jaylen Brown's still utilizing an inhaler from time to time. We have people that just have glancing blows. It's a wide variable, but I would suspect we may not see just an 8-man rotation for Philadelphia, but it's still going to be pretty thin. What I wanted to say for Fred VanVleet, we do have the Fred VanVleet fan club that's out there. We run that with 75 people. Check out my pinned tweet on Twitter. If you win that with an Awesemo avatar, you will get 30 free days of all access Awesemo premium content. And again, you have to win that with the avatar. If you win, just reach out to me on Twitter. If you're already a member, just reach out to me in Discord. I will get you a coupon code that gets you 30 free days of Awesemo premium content.
Love it, dude. It's fun. Like 75 guys, and you're always out in the YouTube streets trying to attract new talent, new guys to come over there and play. And I believe you took it down the other day.
Best tournament out there. Now we run it on DraftKings. Apologies to Yahoo. If I could set up these leagues, I would run it on Yahoo at some point. Maybe we will actually switch over there. But it's hard to fill up with 75 people. But I will say this. I have to play Fred VanVleet. You guys don't. I am 72 out of 75 tonight. Now, 3 Fred VanVleet Elite fan clubs ago, I actually won it. I'm the only one who has to play Fred VanVleet Elite. You guys don't have. Yeah, but it's just saying there's only a 10% rig. There's 2 people tonight that didn't even set lineups because they accept the invite on their phone. So it builds in a little bit better rig. It's the best deal out there. Plus, I'm more than doubling the prize pool by adding the $90 Awesemo 1-month package there.
All right. Well, we'll keep it flying here. We got Tyrese Maxey here on the top end, 6,800. I definitely think he's still viable there, coming off of games of 45, 44, 39, and 39 minutes. Of course, no Joel Embiid, no matter what, but you might get Harris back. That would throw a huge wrench into this slate. As you said, you might get Thibault back. Neither of them affect him in terms of minutes. Seth Curry, also another guy who's questionable with his foot. So much news to break. So buckle up. Obviously you're going to probably have that news. It's the first game of the night. You're going to probably see if everybody's out, they're going to be pretty chalky. In the event that they're not, I think the slate becomes really appealing. I think it becomes a really, really intriguing slate. Just because, with everybody in there, there's really no value to extract. But yeah, we're looking at the rest of the point guard position here. I mean, Tyrese Maxey, I think would be one of them that's viable either way, mainly because his position isn't like there's no other guy. Shake Milton will place him back up to him, Seth Curry, but Tyrese Maxey will get as much usage as he wants in that spot, unless Tobias Harris back. That's the guy to really be paying attention to. Mike Conley, 6,500. Reggie Jackson has been on an absolute tear, but he's 6,300. Only $100 price increase for him. Just super steady here the last couple. 30 plus in 4 straight over on DK, 51.25 4 games ago, 37 last time out, 10 for 20 from the field, 3 for 5. Definitely being an offensive catalyst. And speaking of offensive catalyst, Tyler Hero, another guy that can come off the bench and get hot. On a 3-game slate, I think it's viable to go to a guy like that. 36, 38, that might be enough on a slate like this. You just never know. Who's your priority here in this mid-range, Emac?
Boy, it gets a little dodgy down here.
That's fair.
Pardon?
No priority. That's fair.
Yeah, a lot of it's going to depend on Philadelphia. The TJ McConnell, I think, is going to be a fine play because I agree with you that only one of the Levert and Brogdon is going to play in this. It makes sense that they flop roles here, so I think that's okay. At some point we're going to have to start looking at, dare I say it, like a Jordan Clarkson, et cetera. Some of these other guys here that aren't that enticing because, again, now we're down to just 12 total, or probably 6 total teams in our player pool. The interesting thing, especially going with the Indiana, is they've got the back-to-back elevation games going from Denver to Utah. So that's a tough stretch on a back-to-back night there. So I think looking for some of those secondary options on Utah that could perhaps see a little bit more time on the court if the game is well in hand. I think that's where we want to start looking. I hate even saying their names, but the Joe Ingles, the Jordan Clarksons, etc.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I don't mind. I mean, Jordan Clarkson's under 5K. He deserves to be under 5K with how bad he's been, but 6 for 12, 4 for 9 from 3 last time out, 16 points. There's hope. There's hope on the horizon, and under 5K, I mean, that's still 5x. I don't think about multipliers more than as much as most people do in DFS. I think it's a great metric when you're talking about the boom bust tool where it's 5x plus 10 points as a boom. I think that makes a lot of sense when you're talking about a barometer and projecting players. But considering for me, I project minutes and then I apply our projections towards what I'm doing with minutes and kind of moving the little pendulum one way or another based on kind of where I land with things. I'm not going to be obsessed with something like that. I'll tell you, somebody that is just crazy, and I mean crazy to be thinking about here. I don't know what we could possibly do for value here at the point guard position, but Eric Bledsoe is 4,700, and I think he's the cheapest viable guy. He played 31 minutes, put up 31.25. I don't know. I have a feeling he might be popular if you don't get a ton of Philadelphia value. Even if you do, we saw Reggie Jackson over on FanDuel the other day, extremely popular. I think Eric Bledsoe might be that guy over on DK. In the event he's popular, probably hit eject as fast as you can. But what do you think about him tomorrow?
No, I think that's a good call out there because we can't go to people like Goran Dragic. We just don't know what his minutes are going to be, depending on how many people come back. That could temper expectations for Curry with his knee or with his ankle. Shake Milton could start to lose minutes as these other guys come back, etc. So all of a sudden, Eric Bledsoe, here we are. Happy DFS puzzle for today.
No kidding. Heading to FanDuel. Puzzle's a little bit more clear for me over there. Malcolm Brogdon, 8K. That's great. Fred VanVleet, 8,100. That's great. But Donovan Mitchell is 8,600. That's just wrong. He lost $100 off his tag. Didn't do anything to really deserve such things. You can play him at point guard and shooting guard. It makes a lot of sense for me to play some Donovan Mitchell if you're going to be playing over there. And then Kyle Lowry continues to be a much better play on FanDuel like he has been this entire season. I'm not putting much stock in his terrible output in Denver there. He's going to play 37 minutes and put up 12 in it's like a 1% outcome for that to happen. So Kyle Lowry, definitely want to fire him up. Shake Milton, 6,200, probably just Reggie Jackson will be the guy that everybody wants to click on once again. Didn't get enough of a price bump there, but Eric Bledsoe under 5K. It's just so soft comparatively to DK. Normally is, especially so on this slate, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you call it out right there with Donovan Mitchell. He is taking an incredible amount of shots. Keep in mind, a couple of those games were without Mike Conley, who's not playing on back-to-backs, but Utah doesn't play again until Saturday, so no issues with that. It's going to be everybody available. If we start to consider other options, I think Kyle Lowry is perfectly fine. He has just been absolute garbage the last few games. Something I wasn't expecting.
Fair.
He's getting decent minutes. Well, of course, we don't have tonight's results, but yikes. Not what I'm expecting, but these three mediocre to piss poor performances are surrounded by a 51 fantasy point outing. So it still is in the bag of tricks. This is definitely a boom bust play. Even with the back-to-back, I'm not worried about his minutes for here. It would not shock me for someone else, though, to potentially sit on the back-to-back for Miami. We know a lot of times that they get a little wink and a nod rest for some of their guys here. It won't be Jimmy Butler, but would it shock you if Bam Adebayo didn't play or someone else maybe getting the night off, and that would elevate somebody else into the starting lineup and tweak the rotation just a little bit, but not Udonis Haslem. Sorry. One of my favorite players for a gazillion years. I'm just
you've been around a gazillion years. If you're citing Udonis Haslem as any sort of a play, Jesus Christ! All right, Fred VanVleet, $36. Malcolm Brogdon, $35. By the way, he's going bonkers. One of the bright spots in my evening. Not a bright spot, Josh Hart. I'll say it again. Hate him at the moment. After loving him so much and he treated me so nicely, why you got to be so rude? Don't you know I'm human too? Rest of the guys, Kyle Lowry, $23 is way too cheap on Yahoo. Same price as Tyrese Maxey. That's kind of wrong to me. Reggie Jackson, $21. Shake Milton, $17. I think there's some intriguing options, especially based on that Philadelphia news here on Yahoo. Anything that really stands out to you over there?
Nothing at the extreme bottom. None of the $10 players really pop on Yahoo. So I think we'll be looking definitely at TJ McConnell at 19. I don't dislike Mike Conley, but I'd probably go with McConnell is going to be a priority play. Shake Milton, if nobody returns, will be a priority play. And then, of course, Tyrese Maxey still at 23. Even if people are coming back, his last 5 games, and again, this is with more and more of his teammates being out, but 37, 44, 44, 39, and 39 were his minutes. The 39s were the last 2. What is worst case scenario if 2 people come back, by the way, who have had, the global pandemic we've been dealing with for almost 2 years now, then he's going to see 34 minutes, 35 minutes. That's still a great deal at 23 on Yahoo.
Yep. Definitely still doable. To shooting guard, we go on the top end. Donovan Mitchell available there as well. 9K number there on DK. Fred VanVleet, 8,400. Tyler Hero, 6,100. Man, it gets really, really bleak. I got to say, probably my favorite guy, and we're seeing some regression on his tag. He came out of the gate hot, was very consistent, but there's not a huge ceiling because he's not putting a bunch in counting stats. Everything's been pretty suppressed. He hasn't gotten over 6 rebounds, hasn't gotten over 6 assists in a game, hasn't put up he has 1 block in the NBA, can get some steals here and there. And I love him as a real basketball player. Chris Duarte. I love this man. Oregon Duck.
Why do you like him? Where did he play his college ball?
Yeah, Oregon. I'd said it. Yeah. What? I'm marrying into a Duck family.
You're marrying
into
an Oregon family. I see what you're doing here.
It's my wedding weekend. I'm not an idiot, okay? How about that? There we go. Chris Duarte, 5,200. I think he makes a great play. Talk to me about shooting guard here, Emac.
Yeah, it does fall off the shelf. So again, the caveat on Philly is we've got Furkan Korkmaz, who destroyed both of us. You mentioned on the show last night that you had even more than the 92% that I had. So yikes. Pain and suffering there. Eric Bledsoe is popping, of course, because he's 4,700 here. He's going to be a big part of what anybody is doing on FanDuel. Everybody has dual position eligibility, so it doesn't really matter anymore. You've got Duncan Robinson at 3,800. All of a sudden, if something changes with somebody in Miami, there could be more shots. I don't know how many more minutes he ends up with, but he'll end up with more shots, and that's what we want from him. Let's see. Svi Mikhailiuk is someone that if Siakam doesn't end up going for whatever reason, he could still see some additional opportunities there, but we're really scraping the bottom of the barrel. So rounding it back up to the top, we haven't mentioned Gary Trent in any fashion. He's an okay option. He is like Terrence Ross 2.0. He's going to be mostly points and not much else for Toronto here, even though it's, two generations of Toronto franchises apart from each other. It's the same guy. So it's odd. The vast majority of shooting guards / point guards here that I'm staring at on the DK side of things is guys who are just scoring based, which we usually don't see a whole lot. They don't seem to have a lot of their small forwards kind of leaking into the position. It's kind of weird how it's landing there. If we look over on the FanDuel filter, more or less the same guys, but you get Paul George available at shooting guard and small forward, whereas he's power forward on DK and Yahoo. So FanDuel never change.
All right, FanDuel never change. I think you did a great job of kind of encompassing everything over there. FanDuel, what are we doing here? Yeah, Eric Bledsoe 4,900 available there. Terrence Mann kind of, I wouldn't say, no, he did burn everybody. A lot of people played him. I think he was around 25% on DK on that 3-gamer. Clippers are back. So 14.5 fantasy points. Not good for him in that last outing against, who do they play? Portland, that's who it was. They're playing Miami here. He'll be better. I think he's fine at 5K there. Svi Mykhailiuk would have to start for me. He's been playing right around 20 minutes since Scotty Barnes got back. But, at 4,400, I'd rather go down to Joe Ingles, 4,300 on FanDuel. Luke Kennard even, 4,300. If he gets hot, he can kind of just stay on the floor there. Played 26 minutes and only put a 4.5 fantasy points. I mean, he got paid an absolute bucket of money. And, he's out there to shoot threes occasionally and be involved occasionally. So occasionally you can roster him. That's the right way of saying it. And then shooting guard on Yahoo. We've got Donovan Mitchell, $37 up there. Tyler Hero, 23. Gary Trent, 21. Little expensive for some of those guys, but Terrence Mann at $14 just sticks out like a sore thumb to me. What do you see intriguing at shooting guard on Yahoo?
Yeah, absolutely Terrence Mann, and then probably Duncan Robinson, who's at the minimum. Terrence Mann, his minutes were there. It just his field goal attempts just have been trending downwards. We know that sometimes it's a confidence thing for him. He still defers too much. And I learned a lot of listening to the Slate Starter with you and Rinpack talks a lot about his confidence and what he was doing in the closing lineups. And I know you guys listened to a lot of the press conferences and interviews, post-game interviews from the other players. And they were saying that they were really fond of him and thought he was going to be a good player, which was kind of not a surprise because these guys are also darn talented. But coming out of college, it wasn't expected like, oh, he's going to be a closer kind of guy. They thought he was like a homeless man's version of Shake Milton Shake Milton.
But then he single-handedly sent the Utah Jazz packing their bags, single-handedly.
He's more than just a streak shooter, is where I wanted to end with this, because he does end up with a lot of rebounds, which is something that you don't see from a lot of the empty guys. Pick a Houston Rocket.
He's got like a rate around a 9% rebound rate this season. Yeah. I mean, the tough thing is Nicholas Batum is playing a lot of minutes, and he's up around a 12% rebound rate. Serge Ibaka is going to be out, so I think just even like 6-8 minutes of Serge Ibaka, which is kind of what he's been around the last 2 games as he's like started to get infiltrated into the lineup. I think that having him off the floor is helpful, but Hartenstein and Zubats both around 15 and 16%. Out of the guards, he's definitely the best rebounder aside from Paul George, if you want to call him a guard. I call him a small forward shooting guard, whatever you want to call him. But I definitely am kind of leaning more towards rostering Terrence Mann on these kind of slates, especially because when somebody burns you the last time, people look at the box score and they want to see recency bias and they want to see these other paths where it doesn't make sense to roster him. I would have a lot of Terrence Mann. If I do end up playing, I'll have a lot of Terrence Mann. I think that makes sense. Eric Bledsoe at 4,900, I expect to be much more popular. He played 31 minutes and put up 32. But if you look at Terrence Mann, the only thing apart was shooting. And, 7 points, 5 boards, and an assist, not very good, but played 32 minutes, played more time. He's also a better defender than Eric Bledsoe, but, that's a different conversation. Eric Bledsoe's just old. I don't know how old he is. I'm sorry. This is the wrong podcast for me to do. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. All right. Hey, you know what I'm going to do? Watch this. I got to teach you how to do this.
Landry Shamet, not
Landry Shamet.
That's who I was thinking of.
Love it.
Shamet. Son of a Shamet.
Man, we're introducing our Yahoo sponsor right now. Throwing them some love. See, look at this. Just kind of showing everything right there. New Yahoo users get 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum with your first time deposit bonus. and paid contest entry. I don't know what you really need me to tell you. Yahoo is the best place to go play fantasy sports, period. End of story. 12% management fee for most of these tournaments that they're putting out here on a daily basis. They've got negative management fee. We're talking overlay. We're talking no rake, as in they're putting money in your pocket to play NFL on Sundays right now. Negative 25% management fees, 200K overlay. I don't know what you're asking for, but that's the best NFL contest you can possibly play for week 10. You need to get in there. You need to be playing. And we're incentivizing that because if you're a new user, head over to Yahoo, deposit $10 or more, and you'll get 1 free month of Awesemo Plus Platinum, completely free to you. Every sport we offer behind the paywall: NBA, NFL, MMA, golf, college basketball, which the projections are free right now. Makachevsky's a monster, and you need to check him out. But they'll be behind the paywall too. So stop guessing, start winning, and use this promo now. Bang. Let's go to the small forward position on the top end here. We've got Paul George. He's really good. He's going to be very popular at 10-2 tomorrow because, again, who else are we paying up for? He's like the only guy to pay up for, because then Domantas Sabonis would be 9,100 on DK. That's the next guy. But Jimmy Butler, 8,900 on a back-to-back. I really don't know where that roster ship's going to end up. I could take it or leave it. I mean, it really does. Bam play on a back-to-back? Does, obviously Morris is out because, he got clotheslined by Jokic and whiplash. He's out for whiplash. That was the exact thing that I saw go across. And oh man, I don't even know if I want to have a reaction to it because I thought it was justified, but we're gonna move on past this.
Did you see the clip?
I don't want to have a take. This is not first take. I can't do this. I can't.
No. All I'm saying is he did the exact same thing where he was in the opposite shoes of what happened. I don't know if it must have been 2 seasons ago or 3 seasons ago, right? So it's just sort of like you can't be.
He had a guy with his back turned. Literally, it's a Morris twin. Otherwise, Jokic would have been suspended for 5 games. If that was Mike Conley, he might have been suspended for his lifetime. Nikola Jokic might be out of the NBA and be canceled. But it was a Morris twin, and the Morris twins, I'm just going to say, not the nicest guys I've probably ever seen play basketball. I want them on my team. I want Marcus Morris on my basketball team. Markieff, I could probably just leave him alone. He's like the 11th dude on Miami's bench. But Marcus Morris, I want on my team. But I probably don't want to cheer for him ever. That's probably the right way of putting it. Same thing as Patrick Beverley. Like, how do you cheer for this guy? But now he plays for my Timberwolves, and it's like, yay, go Patrick. All right. Jimmy Butler up top there. OG Anunoby, 7,600. Scotty Barnes, 6,600. Welcome back, young fella. Good to see you again. We'll see where that roster ship comes out at. But Nicholas Batum's a guy I want to talk about. I had him circled because all he does is keep being productive. All he does is keep shooting extremely efficiently. But maybe the clock strikes 12 here at this point in time, but the Frenchman can get there in a multitude of ways because of his rebounding rate. So a double-double isn't completely out of play. He's flirted with one a couple times this season. Hasn't happened, but man, is he shooting the ball well and being very effective. 5,300. What's your interest level on him specifically?
So it's going to be very high, but what we need to understand in his 5-game heater that he is on, he is shooting 50%. Actually, he's better than 50%, almost 60% from 3-point range. That's going to go away. Even though the Marcus Morris has been out and they need him shooting, he has taken 9, 11, 7, 10, and 10 shots in these last 5 games. If we talked about this the last time he was on, because I like to look at some of these historical anomalies, like for him, you can go back over his. I'm making this up, but you can go back over his last 200 games, and he probably only has 10 games where he's taken more than 10 shots.
How can you make something up? You either make it up or you don't.
I'm making it up, but it's going to be directionally.
Okay,
it's going to be directionally correct. Much like the Washington Wizards I called out tonight, said their defense is better. We said this last night. Their defense is better. What did they do? They held the opposing team below 100 points. That's the 4th time they've done it this season. In their last
Ricky Rubio still got there. I want to throw up everywhere. It's fine.
Yeah, their last 186 games, they've held the opponents under 106 times. Mm-hmm. Yet they've done it 4 times this season.
Ricky Rubio only played 28 minutes. I knew he wasn't going to play 30, and he still did his, I'm going to put up 1.1, 1.2 fantasy points per minute thing, got to 36 or whatever it was. Whatever.
I want to take from your dad if Rubio does well while you guys are together at your wedding. I would like to
my dad tomorrow. Nobody talked to my dad. If he finds out that I lost money because of Ricky Rubio, me saying that he wasn't a good play today, he'll never talk to me again. I won't be his son. I'll have somebody else, talking at my wedding. I'll just give the mic to my drunk uncle or something. Let's keep going. Small forward down here, Danny Green's 4K. It's Danny Green. He's probably going to start here after he didn't start, but then played 29 minutes still. Doc Rivers put him in the closing lineup. I don't understand that. I don't understand how he could get to 29 minutes. I said it yesterday while it was happening. When I saw him go back out for that last rotation, he played like the last 5-6 minutes of that game. I was just like, just kill me. Just end me right there. That's really all I got on the bottom end. Torrey Craig, 3,100. You want to talk about somebody who's playable out of the middle of nowhere? Plays like 26, 21, 17, 29 minutes. If you're looking for a punt, I'm not saying he's a good play because he's not a good play, but you could do worse than a 3,100 Torrey Craig. I actually weirdly prefer him, I think, to Jeremy Lamb, which is just so wrong to say out loud. Right?
I'm okay with that. 3 points for blocks and steals on Yahoo and FanDuel. We know that Torrey Craig gets the hustle stats. Yeah. Occasionally he can drop in the threes, and we've seen him. I forget which game it was, but he was unconscious and he had 48 fantasy points. What was that? Like 2 weeks ago?
Stupid. Yeah. So he's what is his position? Yeah, he's only shooting guard only, 4,100 on FanDuel. I have less interest. I think on DK is where I'm looking at it. He's just a pure punt, 3,100. I want to stars and scrub. I want to play Paul George. I want to play Jimmy Butler. I think he gives you access to that. So it's weird to say, but if we don't get any Sixers value, Torrey Craig might not be like unowned. I think he'll be somebody that might actually get talked about as somebody you could play. Let me pull up his minutes here as we're looking at it. That game just got over. Will Barton just broke the slate again, which is not surprising to anybody. He ended up being just crazy high owned everywhere, as you could probably expect. But Torrey Craig, 22 minutes off the bench, 5 points, 1 block, 1 assist, 2 rebounds, 3,100. You could do worse. You could end up having him optimal with 15 points, 20 fantasy points, something like that. All right. Yahoo, small forward, finishing that out. Paul George on the top end, Jimmy Butler, OG Anunoby. We didn't say his name yet. Any OG Anunoby interest? Because he's just never my favorite roster.
It's getting a little tricky on when he's at $30. He doesn't take enough shots to make me happy. If Pascal Siakam is out, we should see Anunoby, and the coaches are encouraging him to shoot because they're running out of shooters, especially with Siakam out. If Siakam ends up playing again, and we just don't know how they're going to bring him back from the long layoff, etc. And we know did some crazy rest stuff down the stretch last year, just for bizarre reasons, even when they weren't completely out of the playoffs. But circling back, the shooting volume is concerning. We also need him to get a couple blocks and steals, like a couple of each, for him to outperform this salary. And he only has 5 steals in the last 4 games and 3 blocks in the last 4 games.
So we got breaking news. Jimmy Butler just turned his ankle, which could change this slate dramatically.
This feels like when we got the Nikola Jokic news last night.
We got the Nikola Jokic suspended, Will Barton super chalk news. We knew that all those guys were going to be popular. Will Barton's really the only guy who got there. Jeff Green didn't really get there. You didn't want anybody on that entire team other than Will Barton, which I can honestly weirdly say doesn't surprise me. In hindsight, maybe I should have factored that into my freaking lineups. How about that? That would have been a good idea. God, whatever. But I will say, Jimmy Butler turned his ankle on a back-to-back here. Bam Adebayo was questionable coming in. You had Tyler Hero, who was questionable coming in. You might get all 3 of them sitting. You might get some really interesting value going up against the Clippers. Just throwing it out there. But wanted a live reaction to that. Turned his ankle. They just said he won't return today. So I would be surprised if he played tomorrow, just based on that news, because, it's freaking Jimmy Butler. So saddle up, partner. Miami Heat value. Get ready for it. We're going to DraftKings. Power forward, top end. We'll round these puppy out. Power forward and center like we always do. Domantas Sabonis, 9,100. Tobias Harris, if he plays, 8,800. Huge tag, but coming off of COVID, I don't know what those minutes look like. I don't know his condition. It's a lot of guesswork. All I know is that he would by far be their best offensive option. You got to at least consider clicking on his name. Pascal Siakam, they said he's unlikely to play on the second half of these back-to-backs. It just doesn't sound like it's going to be something that he does. They lost to the Celtics today, so it sounds like he's not going to play tomorrow. That maybe makes some of these guys intriguing, but they already had inflated price tags that didn't make sense. So OG Anunoby 7,600 over there, Scotty Barnes 6,600. I could actually get to a little bit of him there. Batum 5,300 we talked about, and then Bojan Bogdanovic, excuse me, not related, but 32, 31 minutes. We know he can get hot from three, but God, he's got to get really, really hot from three in order to be paying off 5,100 still, because he really adds nothing else to the stat column. Talk to me about power forward on DK Emac.
So I'm looking ahead at the schedule here to try to figure out if Coach Spo is willing to take a schedule loss to tomorrow in the LA back-to-back.
They're 7-3. I'd assume he would.
I think, and that's where I'm landing. So even if they lose tonight, they may accept that there, because upcoming.
Also,
on
how
road
impressive
trip
is that? How many people in DFS just know the record of a team off the top of their head? I'm just going to say. I'm just saying, shout out to me. They're going to be probably 7-4 if they lose that. Well, they will be, because that's math. They're going to be either 8-3 or they're going to be 7-4, because that's how basketball works. But they're 7-3 right now, and I don't have anything pulled up on that.
Yeah, and with so they're taking on, they got the LA back-to-back here. So I know they're not traveling, but if these guys are all banged up, maybe they're just going to say, we're going to take it easy on this one. We've got time until they play Saturday against Utah or in Salt Lake, and then they don't play again until Monday in Oklahoma City. That's obviously a winnable one. And then they go back home to face New Orleans, Washington, and then they go to Washington the following Saturday on the 20th. So they've got a lot of winnable games up here. We know that they're going to think strategically and think ahead. This could be one where it's not like, oh, Bam, I know you're a little bit banged up, but we're going to put you out there since Jimmy can't go. He'll rest all of them. And then he might even say, we're going to keep Hero out of this too, just because why force him to carry the load? And all of a sudden we're looking at the understudies getting a lot of time here. So hello value. It always appears at some point, even on a 3-game slate.
Yep. Even on 3 games.
Power forward to answer your questions here. Apologies. But again, we're teaching people how to read slates. That's the important thing here. How do you react to news? What's going on? We don't have the time crunch. So this is sort of a way to test yourself. What would you guys have thought if you found out Jimmy Butler may be out and may not be playing? How would you react to that quickly?
All the Tyler Hero, all the Bam Adebayo. Bam Adebayo, whenever Jimmy Butler's out, his assist rate goes through the moon. It's just something that I've always noticed about him. Bam Adebayo, one of the better passing bigs. He just never gets to pass very much because Jimmy Butler is on his team, who handles the ball in pretty much all situations. But Tyler Hero also, who's been on an absolute heat fest. If he's good to go, he just started the second half here, and he's going to be very popular tomorrow if you end up getting that to happen. Kyle Lowry already was super in play, 6,500. Those are kind of the guys you're looking at. There's no like Max Strus if he plays interest, whoever the starting guy that would be kind of filling in there. I mean, if Jimmy Butler's out, you got to be thinking Tyler Hero just slots into the starting lineup instead of coming off the bench. I think it's as easy as that. And then you're looking at, some of the guys that might be coming in for Miami. I already said Duncan Robinson's already starting there. You have Caleb Martin, who didn't end up playing, I don't think, today. He was probable, but yeah, no, he must have been out there today. Let me actually just pull that game up and we can react to that a little bit more. But to round out power forward on DK, we're looking at Torrey Craig. You can play there as well. PJ Tucker, 3,100. Again, I don't like PJ Tucker ever, but he's put up double-digit fantasy games. He had a game where he put up 28.25 against Brooklyn. He's playing 25 minutes, 30 minutes. Yeah, he's like a 0.5 DraftKings points per minute player. But if you're just looking to pure punt, him, Torrey Craig, stuff like that, I doubt they'll be necessary, but I'm just throwing them out there as guys on a 3-game slate. None of these games are like super appealing from a fantasy perspective. I mean, Toronto, Philly, Indianapolis, Utah, Miami, Clippers, all of those are going to be pretty low totals.
Yeah, totally agreed on that. And so I was just kind of looking here. And so Domantas Sabonis at the top of power forward is going to be pretty impressive. We mentioned, or I mentioned anyway, just, be careful with Miles Turner. He's been getting it done by just nailing 3-pointers. He actually was 2 for 3 from the field from downtown. He only ended up with 13 points, just 8 rebounds. Sabonis ended up having a monster game, 20 and 19. And somehow the Pacers lost, despite Jamal Murray obviously being out for the year, Porter Jr. being out, and why am I blanking on his name? Jokic being suspended.
Michael Porter Jr., Jokic suspended. You have all these guys gone.
Yeah. And the Pacers still lost to bring the record to 4-8. So.
Will Barton, pretty good, confirmed, can shoot a basketball sometimes.
So top of the list, I definitely think Sabonis. He's going to be like a top, depending on now who's hurt or in, he's going to be one of the top 3 salaries on the slate. It drops off dramatically as we kind of look at Yahoo, but we didn't really mention Georges Niang. He'll be coming off the bench if at least a couple guys are out. Particularly Harris is the guy that kind of needs to be out for him to get more than 22 minutes. I think he's still going to get 22 minutes just as the backup. But if Harris is out, we'll see him closer to 29, and he'll get his extra shots up. So he's someone that's sort of contingent on Harris.
I will say, now let's jump to FanDuel. There's one guy that we haven't brought up, and I think that's kind of a cleaner way to do it now on 3-game to kind of close it out, is guys that we didn't touch on other sites. Precious Achiuwa is 4,900. Power forward center. You get no Pascal Siakam tomorrow, more than likely. He's played 27. He even played 24 minutes tonight, put up 29.3 fantasy points over on FanDuel. For sub 5K, I expect him to garner quite a bit of rostership, especially if he ends up slotting into the starting unit. Again, you just got Pascal back out there today. Was not a good day to be a Toronto fan. They got murdered, absolute blitzkrieg against the Celtics, but yeah, he's 4,900. I think you could do a lot worse. You get the opportunity to play some of these guys power forward center. And I think he's probably the guy that jumps to the top of my list there. Still no Serge Ibaka. Isaiah Hartenstein is not really playable here unless you get Zubac's foul trouble. He played 17 minutes, I will say that. So, I mean, if it's going to be something where he's 17, 18 minutes, and you want to get a different roster construction where you punt one of the power forwards, awesome, do that. But you're going to possibly have Bam Adebayo in play without Jimmy Butler, and you're going to have Domantas Sabonis up there as an 8,800 pay-up option. Like, come on. You're going to want to get to a lot of those guys. And then Miles Turner, 7,400 in a matchup where they're going to need him against Gobert. Power forward on Yahoo on the top end. Sabonis, $46. We talked about him enough. Scotty Barnes, 25. Nicholas Batum, 17. It becomes a real steep sliding slope here at power forward over on Yahoo. Makes it a little intriguing. Torrey Craig down there at $10. I don't know why I keep looking at this guy. It's really painful. But Paul Reed, if you get everybody out there at $10, somebody we haven't talked about either, ended up starting last game. I had a lot of interest. He ended up putting up 27.2, and you still didn't need him, which was really painful to me because I basically had 100%. But talk to me about power forward on Yahoo. Anything else stick out to you?
No, I think we've covered that up and down from multiple ways.
All right. Well, I'm excited to get your take on this because on center on DraftKings, Andre Drummond, $8,600. I still think he's too cheap. He's $8,600. And I know it's Andre Drummond. I mean, Andre Drummond with Detroit, we were paying $9K. And then you have Andre Drummond with the Lakers, which I don't even know how to evaluate his time here. What is it about these centers? Dwight Howard, in the Kobe days, where he came out here and was absolute dog, what. And then you have him kind of rotate in and just can't really get anything going. DeAndre Jordan never really had it here in LA. I mean, it's just so weird that you get these random centers, and they haven't had like a good center since Zubats. Zubats was the best Lakers center in the last 10 years, probably. I mean, I'm not calling Anthony Davis is a 5. So we can maybe call Anthony Davis a 5, but he's played the 4 primarily. And therefore I'm going to say the 5. Somebody tell me a center that they've actually had that it's like, yes, he's been at his prime in this spot.
Well, certainly wasn't JaVale McGee.
No, it was not.
No. I think you're going to be correct there with Zubac because Harrell wasn't a good fit, and he's really not a center per se. Even in today's game, he's really not a
Played
center.
Great today, and also power forward. He's a power forward.
Yeah. No, I think you're good.
Andre Drummond, $8,600. He's cheap. Rudy Gobert, $8K against Indiana. He's cheap. Bam Adebayo, $7,400. Probably way too cheap. In the event, especially if you get Jimmy Butler out there. Zubac's $5,100, too cheap. Can we just play 6 centers on DK tomorrow?
It reminds me of Fantasy Draft, the one site where you could play 4 centers anyway with 2 utilities and 2 centers. That was fun.
Let's party. Let's party with that. I mean, looking at the FanDuel board too, Andre Drummond 9,100. He's at least priced up appropriately there. Rudy Gobert 8,900. That'll be kind of an interesting decision point here because then you get Bam Adebayo, but you can play him at power forward. So Rudy Gobert and Andre Drummond, you kind of have to decide between one of them just because they don't have the dual eligibility like everybody else has. And then Zubats at 5,400 becomes just so much less appealing. So I will say on FanDuel, pick one, Andre Drummond or Rudy Gobert right now for all the money.
I'm going to go with Andre Drummond. I just think that's the way to do it.
God, it feels so wrong, though. Let's round it out with Yahoo on the top end. Rudy Gobert, $35. Andre Drummond, $35. They are literally playing pick'em on Yahoo. They're just trolling me. Play both of those guys. Those numbers are both very advantageous. But I want to play Bam, too. $33 if you get no Jimmy Butler. Miles Turner, $29. Precious Achiuwa, $14. A nice source of savings. Man, it's going to be really tough to differentiate centers, but it's got to be one of those guys, especially over on Yahoo for me tomorrow. I'm probably going to be siding with a lot of Gobert and Bam Adebayo, Andre Drummond and Bam Adebayo. But I understand Rudy Gobert big time too. I mean, the guy's averaging 42 Yahoo points per game. Came off a 57.5 against Orlando against that Wendell Carter Jr. Mo Bamba front court. Not that that's extremely defensively stout or anything, but man, he's got a lot of upside. It's weird to be missing out on Rudy Gobert. And at the same number as Drummond, though, you just can't do it. Whoa! I just lost you.
Oh,
you came in hot. You clicked the thing and then it disappeared on me.
Well, it's because I clicked on silly Pro Basketball Reference and their ads just make my computer go nuts.
That's what it was. I was trying to figure out because there was one other time and I was like, oh, he's looking at Basketball Reference. That's what it is.
Yeah. Brook Lopez. That's the last good Lakers center.
That is correct. Brook Lopez was good. That team was dog you-know-what, though, as well. Yeah. Brandon Ingram, Kyle Kuzma tried to become things. Well, they're maybe going to become things other places. I love Brandon Ingram. But, hey, Emac, this is fantastic. This is the last one you and I are going to do here for a while, I would think. I mean, I look forward to having you fill in again here from time to time. I look forward to having you here. And plus, the people are going to get you tomorrow. Surprise. Pete the Heat Rogers, the MMA famed Pete the Heat Rogers, is going to be teaming up with Emac as I take a little bit of a tenure. I know they're going to be doing it tomorrow. I don't know what's in store for the next 2 weeks as I am out of here, but I look forward to being back. We'll be coming back right after Thanksgiving with some more Slate Starter. That'll be Ryan and myself here again. But Emac, you did a fantastic job. Love having you. Any final words for the people?
No, it'll be good. We've got a series of celebrity guest hosts coming up. I will be acting as the host. We got Pete the Heat Rogers. I think on Monday it's going to be Aaron Rodgers, no relation. And then we'll go from there. Perhaps Ken Jennings will make an appearance. We'll see.
How about Greg Jennings instead? The most hottest hitting safety in the league, Darren Sharper. If everybody knows what I'm talking about. I'd probably use that. I feel like I've used that one once or twice, but I don't really care. Hey, everybody. Best of luck on this 3-gamer. I look forward to seeing you all soon. He's Emac. He's going to be with you here quite a bit. I'm Eric. I can't wait to get out of here. We'll see you guys later.